Hi everyone, welcome back to Bernina Club 2021. Can you believe it? February already, and we've had to postpone a couple of the Bernina clubs, but we will be having them in March, so we'll be doing 2 in March. So I thought I'd get on and get the videos done, and I'll be sending some of them to you shortly. Okie doke, so the first thing is I'm making a very, very simple, useful thing that you can make for yourself, for your friends. Sometimes it's really, really hard to undo jars, and so this Magic Stop is a wonderful, wonderful product, and what it does is it grips things. So you can use this under your foot control to stop your foot control moving if you've got a wooden floor. You can cut this into squares and you can use it on your fabric for freehand quilting. Now the reason why you might do that is because in the summer it's really hot when you're quilting, and so if you use a product that grips onto your fabric that you can put your hands on, your hands won't get so hot. So it's actually a really, really good product for that. Now because it's really, really sticky type of fabric, I use a Tearaway when I'm working with it, and it stops it from gripping to my tabletop, because otherwise it will grip and I can't move it, and if I sew up the other way my foot will stick to it. So I do sew with it facing down, but I use a Tearaway underneath it. So a Tearaway, it's just a product that tears away, $2 a metre, and I put that underneath while I'm sewing, and now it can sew and it's nice and smooth, nice and easy. So how the product works is you can get in different colours, and you have your grippy product Magic Stop on the back of a piece of fabric. You then use your hand, you put this on the jar, undo the jar, and it grips onto it, so it gives you friction so that it's easier to turn the jar. So especially if you live on your own, it's a little bit hard to go and ask your neighbour to undo your jar, where you can keep yourself nice and independent and be able to do it yourself. What I've done on this one is I've put a little hanger on it so you can hang it up in your kitchen, or I've put a magnet on it so you can just magnetise it to the fridge so you always know where it is. So I'm just going to show you how to make these. I have also, we've got the coolest new fabrics, and so I've pieced one of these, which I'm going to do today, and I've put a different colour on the back, and yeah, it looks quite cute, and you can add a hanger to it, or you can add everything to it if you want. But look, aren't they gorgeous? So these are the new Kiwiana little, quite funky little prints, so I'm going to use this one today. So this one I've teamed up with a stripe, and this one I'm going to team up with some of the Kiwiana fabric that we've already got. So it only needs a little bit more. You can make these 7 inches finished, 7.5 inches finished, even 8 inches if you've got a bigger hand. So there's no rules, but it's just, yeah, we have this for sale in the shop at the moment in black and teal and white and beige, but you can get it from Para Rubber and other stores like that. So a bit of Tearaway underneath, a bit of the Magic Grip on top, and first things first, I'm going to show you how to stitch and add your fabrics to these. Now when you're adding any fabrics to a piece of fabric, you measure across the top and across the bottom, and you make your fabric exactly that width. We're going to be trimming it off to fit this size, so I haven't trimmed the length of it yet. So I'm going to look at my fabric and go, that's got a bird on it there, that's got a bit of a bird on it there, but I'm going to be chopping it off, so I'm actually going to put the bird at the top and the flowers at the bottom. So right side to right side, right side to right side, and I'm just going to do a 6mm seam across the bottom and across the top. So if I was doing this, normally I would put my 1/4 inch foot on, and some of you like to pin, so you can match that all up nicely and put your pins in. Now when you put your pins in, you put them with the heads facing up, or they're sideways, and your pins like that. Okay, The reason why, because there'll be no stretching between these pins. If you are a clipper and you want to use your clips, put your piece of fabric on there and just get your little quilt clips and pop your quilt clips on there like that. So whatever works for you, you do. Okay, it's really a small piece. I really don't need anything, but I'll do it. So I've got I sew with my left foot. My right knee lifts my foot control up and down, and in fact I don't really need that first one. So the first thing I should do is get a scrap of fabric, which I didn't think. I'll just use a bit of Tearaway just so I can start sewing onto that. And I've got it on straight sewing. I've got a standard needle in. I'm sitting up nice and straight so I don't get a sore back. And I've set the table at the right height that I like to work on. So normally my arms, if I've got my arms folded like this, is sitting at a nice height. So they're not up here, they're not too low. So this is a good height for me, so I'm comfortable. If it's not right, I can lower my seat down because I've got a height adjustable seat as well. Nothing like having both the things that go up and down. It does make it easier to set it right for how you're sewing. Right, so I'm just going to sew onto my Tearaway or my fabric, and then I can start sewing on here. I do not need to backstitch it. I've got my needle down function on, so I can take out my clips and I can carry on sewing. Normally have 2 of these pieces, but I have 1. So I will just come here and I will sew off the end as well. Okay, now I'm going to lift this up. And I'm going to sew onto here, and I've already started it because it's sitting on my piece of Tearaway. And have your iron turned on and ready to go. I feel my bird is upside down. Look, I sat them and showed you. That one's right, but I think this one is not. One moment, please. Oh no, we're good. We're good. I thought I'd done it wrong. We're good. Okay, so now I'm going to press this open, and I'm going to leave my seam in my piece of fabric I've just stitched on, and I'm going to press it away from my design. So on my iron, I'm just popping my iron on and I'm pressing my seam away. Okay, and press it away. Now I'm not going to need this much because my piece of magic stop is only this length. So I can decide if I want to either have a longer piece at the bottom and a shorter piece at the top, or I can center this and go, I think I will see the head of the bird there and the head of the bird here. Okay, can you see that? So you can decide which way you'd like to do it. I think I'll trim that off now. I'll just center this on here and I'll trim that off with my little cutter. So I'm just going to pop over here and I'm just going to trim this off. Just so it's the right length. And then I can cut my other pieces of fabric. Make sure it's square and just trim it off with your cutter. And turn it around. Sticks to your, the cutting ruler sticks to the magic stop. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. So trim that off. Now I just want to show you. So I have now cut that the right length, okay? So these are my next pieces I'm going to cut off, and I'm just using scraps. So I used to just plonk that on and stitch it, but now I'm much better behaved than that. I actually measure that and I cut this exactly the right length, because then I know there's no stretching or pulling or anything like that. So as I've got older and wiser, I'm actually doing things the right way. Brenda, you're going to be so proud of me. So make sure you've got it facing up the right way. If you've got a kink in your fabric, give it a press. Make sure it's really, really nice and flat. Measure this length and make these two the same length. Don't worry about the width at this stage, because remember, we're just using scraps of fabric up. So I'm going to measure this. I'm going to put this down so you can see. So I'm just going to use my ruler and I'm going to measure this so I know exactly what size it is. I'm going to just give that a press. And you've got to love it. My board is actually in centimetres, and yeah, that's a bit of a nuisance right there. So it's 11¼ inches I need to cut this. I've just measured it. So that in centimetres is, I'll just lay that nice and straight, and 11, can't be 11¼ Robin, that cannot be right. It is 7¼ So I'm just going to lay this on 7¼ right there, and I'm just going to trim this off. So that's going to be the correct length, and I'm going to do the same to this one. And then I'll worry about the width of it. So turn that around, get it so my bird's facing up the right way. Make sure that's a nice straight edge, and 7¼ There we go. And close your blade. Right, so now I've got my 2 pieces, and I think I will put my face of my bird facing out, and this piece on here, because it's only to make my square bigger. So use your little piece of tearaway or fabric, and this time right side to right side. And you know, if you actually put your fabric on and give it a little press before you start, it really doesn't move much. I'll put a couple of clips in just to show you, but honestly, we're doing such a small little project, and it honestly does not move much if you press it first. And the next thing I'm going to show you, once you've finished your seam, if you press it flat before you press it away, oh, what's happened here? Oh, my thread caught. If you press it flat before you press it away, you'll get a much nicer finish, because it sets your stitching and your seam. You get a much nicer flat finish. Okay. And I'm going to just do this one. Make sure you've got your bird facing up the right way. And then you can decide if you're going to centre your bird. Oh, remember, iron it first. And then stitch that. And you'll notice I didn't clip it, because in all honesty, I wouldn't pin or clip anything this size. But if you want to be really, really good, then you can. Okay, so what I was saying about heat setting it first, so if I iron this and then turn it over and press it, I will get a better finish. So I'm going to set that seam there, and then I'm going to roll it over, and I'm going to press it away from my bird. It's quite cute with that fabric. I know it's a little bit busy, but it's a little bit of fun. And it's just a simple little thing. So there's my little picture. So I could leave it like that and cut my piece of fabric out that size if I wanted, but my piece of fabric is going to be a bit smaller than that, so I'm just going to trim that little piece off. See, trim that little bit off. It's only 6 mils. So just lay that down and trim it off. Too easy. Nice and easy to start the year off. It sticks to it. I'll just trim it off from here, because that's sticking to it. It's very, very, very sticky. I'll tell you another thing it's really good for. Say you were cutting a piece of fabric and your ruler was going all over the place. Just put some of this underneath and your ruler, it won't move. All right, so look, it actually sticks onto there. Like, it's really, really, really good. Obviously you can't see through this, so you wouldn't want it on there permanently. But if you were cutting a big long strip and you wanted your ruler to hold, you can actually lay that under there and push down and cut, and your ruler, it will not move. It grips really, really well. So that's just another thing. Look at that. Sticks really well. So, you know, you can use it for that as well. Now, this is only a small thing we're making, so I'm not going to worry about top stitching all over there. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to get a little bit of ribbon or tape, and I'm just going to make a little loop for the corner. I'm going to pin that on the left hand corner, or clip it. I'm going to pin it actually, because I'll leave that pin in there for now. When you're putting a cord or something in bags or in something like this can very easily get sewn in your seam. So just give yourself some intelligence and give it an extra little pin through there so that it doesn't flick out and get all caught, you know. Just get rid of it. Okay. Now, next thing is, so I've got my magic stop, I've got my front, and I want to put it on here. Before I do that, in the opening, which will be about 5 inches, I stay stitch. Now you know why I do this. I stay stitch across anything that's going to be turned through, and it stops it from stretching. So all a stay stitch is, and I'm just going to lift my needle up, pull my thread out and put my work under, as it's about 3 millimeters, or just, yeah, about 3 millimeters. It's a very small seam, and it's going to be going in the 1/4 inch seam. So all you're going to do is a stay stitch, which means you are doing an extra bit of stitching to stop your work stretching when you turn it through. It's a really important step. It seems ridiculous, but it's a really, really important step. And also now I know where I'm starting and finishing. Okay, so I'm just putting right side to right side, and I am going to start down the bottom here, and I am going to pin or clip, whichever you prefer. Oh, did forget to tell you, always use the rotary cutter when you cut out this magic stop, because it's rubber. Don't use your good scissors on it, all right? Just use this because it's rubber. You don't want to damage your good scissors. So now I'm going to pin this one, that pin that I'd put in previously, I'm just going to put that in there. I'll grab some clips because I probably wouldn't put pins on the rubber all the way around either. Clip, and clip in the halfway mark. Now remember the rule of thumb when you are doing corners, you want to do a couple of stitches across the corner. Now that is absolutely true for doing this as well, because it's a rubberized product and it's going to be a little bit thicker. So you want to forward and reverse at the beginning and when you get back around. Okay. So tearaway onto there. Make life easy. You can just have strips of it if you like, but it's much easier on this part to have it all the way around, or else the middle part will grip to this and you'll be in a mess. So just put the tearaway right on it. You'll use all the bits of tearaway up afterwards anyway. So pop it on, 1/4 inch, starting where you've done your stay stitch, forward and reverse. When you come down to the corner, stop 1/4 inch away and do 1, 2 and turn. Okay, 2 stitches. Not very straight piece of tearaway I've got there. It's alright, it'll work. Come along. Oop, went too far. Go back 1. Turn. 1, 2. Went backwards and forwards. Next corner. These are definitely a great gift to give people. Really, really good. And they're a really good thing to make for charity as well. People wouldn't think about it, and they work. They really work. 1, 2, and turn. And pull my tearaway out so that's sitting nicely. And 1, 1, 2, and then turn, and then reverse it at your opening. Okay, and then I can use my scissors to cut. Pretty easy. Now what you want to do is your tearaway. This is how good it is. Isn't that brilliant? Keep these, you're going to use them again. Such a good product. Bit skimpy on the sides there, Robin, but that's all right. Isn't that brilliant? Love it. Love, love, love Tearaway. And I use it all the time. The little tiny bits I don't keep, but I keep the others because I use them inside buttonholes and all sorts of things, and also as stays. So now, the middle part, just pull it, and it'll just tear away. So it's a great product. Got to have Tearaway in your sewing room. There's a little tiny bit there, and just peel it off. There we go. Now, we want to go clipping over across those, but not with our scissors. We're going to use our rotary cutter. Okay, and then we're going to turn it through. So rotary cutter's here. Just going to cut across my points. There we go. And now we've done. Turn it through. Remember, we're going to add a magnet to it in a minute. Take your pin out that you've previously put there to stop you from push your corners out. And this is why you want to have that stay stitched at the bottom, so that when you're fiddling around and pushing things through, you're not stretching it. Bit of thread there, that corner will just pull out with that. Now, the next thing you need to understand is this is rubber. So you want to give it a little iron, but you certainly don't want to melt that rubber onto your ironing board cover. So if you've got a Teflon cover, put that on. And I don't know why mine's disappeared, but that's all right because I can use a bit of Tearaway. But what I might do is, I'm not sure, there it is, my point turner. Just give this a little push out so you've got nice points. And just very gently, you don't want to make a hole in it. It's very strong fabric though. And this one, cool. So because I just can't see my mat in front of me, I'm just going to use this, and I'm just going to, when I press it, I'm going to press it onto some Tearaway so that I'm not going to iron the rubberized product onto here. So just a very light press. And you want to press this under, this little opening. So very, very simple, but before we sew it up, we're going to add our magnet to it. And there's a trick for young players with a magnet. Make sure you get the magnet up the right way so it actually magnetizes onto the fridge. That would just be disastrous. So yeah, I'll show you that. So just a little light press, but you can see I'm utilizing my bit of Tearaway that's left over so that I don't put any heat going on to my ironing board cover. Now the next thing also is with this one here, you'll notice, or you might not, can you see that? I freehand stitched around there just to anchor it down. You don't need to do it, but I did. So you can do that. I think what I'll do on this one is I'll just sew around in a square, so I magnetized it. Okay, so magnets, 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 right. Okie doke. So little round circle magnets, like this, or you can buy magnet by the meter, and you can just chop off a little piece of magnet. The beauty of this one, it's got a sticky on one side, so I can stick it in, but if you put it in the wrong place, it could be fun. So when we come back, I'm going to show you how to pop the magnet in and how to top stitch it up, and we're done. And I'll show you the next thing. So see you in a minute.